again, folks. Over the holidays, we did some bone-in prime ribs, and normally you would cut the bones off and then tie it back on to the rib roast. I don't prefer to do that. I cut them off, and then it leaves me something to smoke later on. There definitely doesn't have the meat that a plate rib or short ribs have, but it does have quite a bit there that we're gonna cook low and slow, render it up, and if you ever cook some prime rib and you cut your bones off, well, use this method and you can make something very, very mouth-watering, tender, and delicious. We're gonna season it up with a Beef It Up steak seasoning. It's a Brookshire's brand. For those of you that don't have Brookshire's, it's just a grocery store here in Texas. I had a friend of mine send me some of these seasonings, and they're only about $3 or $4 a piece. And man, they are good. But what we're using this is Beef It Up. It's kind of like a steak seasoning. It smells like a Montreal steak seasoning, and we're gonna rub it up with this and then throw it on. When you're putting it on fairly liberal. As you can tell, it's pretty coarse. Has a lot of coarse cracked pepper in there. Has a lot of salt. You can smell the garlic in it. Has a really good combination, and it'll leave a pretty decent bark on the outside of these ribs. It's not going to leave a brisket type bark because we don't have the meat there to do that, but it definitely will leave it a darker bark and something delicious to, when you bite into it, give you a lot of flavor. Then you get those bones that'll shrink the meat around those bones and be able to cut that off and eat it up. So we're gonna get these seasoned up and then we'll get them on the pit. Be right back. We did not use a binder for this. All we're gonna do is just let it sit out, and it'll sweat, and it'll keep this seasoning on there. They do have they do have some silver skin underneath them, but I don't remove those in beef ribs. They render pretty good. It's not like there's any meat under there to eat anyway. So we'll get our pit up to temperature, and then we'll get these things on there. Probably looking at about 4, 5, 6 hours, depending on how fast that meat goes. We're gonna plan for about a 4-hour cook, so we'll be back with you. So we're gonna go out here and check and make sure our temperature on our pit's coming along. Again, this is our third cook on our new smoker, the Lonstar Grillz Mini. The guys at Lonstar Grillz did a great job with this smoker, and I'm really, really, really impressed. So we're up to 150 degrees, and it's coming quite along. Got a good, clean smoke going, and won't be long, we'll get those ribs on. We're gonna get out here and get this beef ribs on the pit. Some heat gloves on here. Bathing in that smoke. If you're looking, you ain't cooking, so we'll be back in probably an hour and a half or so to check these things out. Till then. Probably about an hour in, we're running about 260. Do a little spritzing on these beef ribs. Oh, let that smoke clear out. They are looking good. Got pretty good color on them. We're just gonna spritz them up. Make sure they stay moist. Good to go. We'll check on them in another 45 minutes to an hour. About 2 hours in, these things are looking good. Get some more spritzing on them. Put them back to bed here. The color on those things, man. Gotta send this to Mark. Got it rested for a minute. We're gonna cut into this thing and see how it turned out on the inside. Oh wow. Look at that smoke ring. It's tender, pro tender. Not bad for some throwaway beef ribs. I think I'll cut them off and do the same thing next time I do a rib roast. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe to see some other cooks, and we look forward to seeing you again. If you have any comments, please pop them in below.